Hello everyone. Today's book is a great blend of historical fiction, survival horror, and even a little folk horror thrown in. So you got three different genres here and they all come together seamlessly. And this book is creepy. Trust me on that. Before we get started, I want to remind you that I have books for sale. And if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, you can do so at the link in the description. And if you choose to do that, I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's get on with the video. All right, so the book I want to talk about today is called Stix by Breanna Leslie. This book just came out this year. It is a newer release, and it might have flown under your radar because of all the great releases that are coming out this year. And I think that would be a mistake because this book is fantastic. As I said, it's part historical fiction. It takes place in the early 1900s, between 1901 and 1931, I believe. And it's about a family who decides to settle on a piece of land and start their own lumber business in the Appalachian Mountains. So you got the mountains, you got the hills, you got the woods, you got all the changing weather and all the hardships that come with that kind of thing, but they are determined to make their own way. So the man brings his brothers and they bring their families, and they start chopping and planting and building little ramshackle cabins to stay in while he gets his enterprise underway. They get some help from men who are looking for that kind of hard, dirty work. And at first things seem to be going well until the men, their workers, start disappearing. Now at first there's no alarms because these men are kind of vagrant types, you know. They're trying to get away from society. Maybe the pay wasn't what they were expecting. Maybe the work was too hard. They're very nomadic people they hire. And so they don't think anything of it when a few of them just what they assume is take off. But then things change when they start finding bloody body parts in the woods. And that's when they realize something else is out there with them. And it is not something that wants to be friends with them. And this book is written from two perspectives. One in the early 1900s, 1901, 1902, and then up into 1931, 1932, or somewhere in that area. And in the 1930s, this place is now like a little town. The lumber business is thriving. They have all, most of the amenities that a small little town would have. They get new people, new helpers in all the time, and they're working around the clock, chopping down the woods and the forest surrounding them. They have acres and acres to go, plenty of work left. But some of the decisions that were made in the earlier part of the 1900s is going to affect what happens to the people that show up in the latter part of the 1900s. I'm not going to give anything away, but we know right from the beginning almost that there is something evil in this woods, something that is not too happy that people are there, something that demands sacrifice and blood, and it will get it one way or the other. Now what this thing is will be revealed, but I do want to say that this is unlike any other creature or monster you might be expecting in a book like this. This thing is truly terrifying. It is frightening. As the author's narrative describes it for the first time, it sent chills up my spine because I'm like, man, this is something that is unique, something I've really never read before in a horror book of what's going on. And what I really like is that this book gives up its secrets little by little. It doesn't just reveal everything right at the end. Throughout the book, you're going to get certain answers to some questions, but those answers are going to lead to more questions, especially when it affects some of the characters in the latter part of the 1900s in this novel. And your perception about certain characters are going to change from what you originally thought back when they first settled that land to what's going on now. You're going to realize that something has happened. You might not find out right away or all at once, but your perceptions and opinions about some of these people are going to change from depending on which perspective you're reading it from. And it's not like any of them are inherently evil. But the underlying theme of this whole book is about family and what you would do to protect the people that are closest to you, the ones that you care about the most. What kind of things would you do to protect them? Even things that might be considered wrong, but would you do that to protect your loved ones? And maybe it's making the right decision for the wrong reason, or maybe the wrong decision for the right reason. Whatever it is, the author really does leave that up to the reader to decide if you think this was a, good or bad. But your perceptions will change as you're reading this book. And the characters are all alive and well-rounded, and they feel so real and authentic. You can smell the sweat on their skin as they're, out there chopping down trees, and you get a sense of that hardship that kind of lifestyle can bring. And one of the characters that's introduced in the 1930s part of the book, he has a rich, interesting backstory as well. That really gives him, you feel very sympathetic toward him and what he has been through, and you'll find out why when you read. But some of the decisions they made earlier are going to affect definitely what happens now. And the thing is, can these other characters escape what happened in the past? Answers are not forthcoming from these people. They know that something's not right, but they can't quite put their finger on it, and they don't really realize how much danger they could be in until they start getting some answers. And they get them right along with us, so we are right there with them, walking in their shoes and trying to figure this out. And the pacing in this book is incredibly tight and sharp, and I really love that. You get enough description so you get the feeling of the atmosphere and the area and the characters, but not so much that it ever takes you out of the story and never becomes boring, or there aren't really any slow points in this book. It's not exactly fast-paced. I think it's perfectly paced though, because you got the mystery and you got the creature and you got a lot of bloodshed going on, and you really feel for some of these people. This is absolutely a fantastic book, and I want to thank whoever it was that recommended it to me on Twitter. It was a random Twitter post I saw, and I said, yeah, I want to check that book out. And like I said, it came out this year. It might have gotten under your radar, but you can correct that mistake now. There is a link down below where you can purchase your copy of Stix through Amazon, and I highly recommend that you do. It is fantastic. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me and the crowing rooster outside. We appreciate it. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.